G'day, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Intuitions and Orgasms. Jen Hamilton, how are we going tonight?
Greg Riley, I'm amazing as always. How are you?
I missed out on lasagna tonight. You just told me that.
I
I hope
make
your mum and
good
dad enjoyed it.
lasagna. Yeah, they sure did. They sure did.
I saw something during the week, which was very interesting. And it's very interesting because it's a space that I primarily work in the executive C-suite space, right? It was a short, I don't know when the interview was done. This was between Simon Sinek and Steve Bartlett, Diary of a CEO. So I'm not too sure when it was actually aired, but a short came up this week about it. And it was really interesting about Steve, where he was in his relationship and balancing the business side of things, and sort of someone prodding him where about that there is a discourse or sort of things that sort of don't feel right in his life at the moment. And one of them was that in the relationship side of things, and I think Steve's always sort of struggled in that relationship side because he's always been a very focused entrepreneur and creating multiple businesses and all that kind of stuff. And there was an interesting comment where Simon actually, he's a very smart guy, Simon. He can read the room very, very, very well. And he went through all this stuff about the business and his success and where the discourse was. And he said, look, if this was, I've got this on and that on. And he was talking about how his relationship is sort of just going to see how it goes, like, fatherhood and all that kind of stuff. Was he ready for fatherhood? And he's like, but you're ready for fatherhood. And Steve was going, well, I was sort of just letting things happen and see how they go for the next 3 years. And they'll sort of just sort itself out in the next 3 years. And then Simon's gone, Steve, if this was your business, would you wait 3 years to sort it out? And he goes, no, I'll be on it today. It's like, kapow. That was a three punch knockout. Left cross, uppercut, right hook, all in
Okay.
one. And you just see Steve's face, and it was epic. It's like, oh, you got me. Like, if this was his business, he would have been on this and taking immediate action, putting things in place, hiring people, getting consultants in. He would be having meetings about it every day, how to fix this solution in his business. And Steve's, and I don't know, again, how long ago it was, but Steve's like, he's just been caught out. Like, he's not putting the same effort into the relationship as he does his business. And this is a trap for most girl bosses, executives, C-suites, people who, business owners, entrepreneurs. We put so much time and effort into our businesses. And when the business goes, not the right space, we will bring every kind of resource we have to try and resolve that. We will spend any amount of money to try and solve this. Yet when it comes to the relationships, the reasons why we're doing the business in the first place is for our family and ourselves. We tend to not do anything to solve that.
No. How old is Steve? Do you know off the top of your head?
I think he's maybe still in his early 30s now, I think he's
Early
definitely,
30s.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I understand, especially men in their early 30s going through that entrepreneurial journey. It's so much easier, I would say, these days to be an entrepreneur, especially for a man at that age. They're not, thinking on the same level as women, like, I need to, settle down and have a family and my biological clock is ticking. So I understand the sentiment that he's like business focused, but I love that this guy's called him out on this because it's so true. And remembering as well, I always say this, how we are in small ways is how we are in all ways. So if you're focusing so much in your business and you're letting other things slide, then you're going to continually let that happen in other areas of your life. And so when we can, I guess, dissect this and pull this apart, what's the mechanics? What's driving him behind this? What value is he placing on his business that is higher than his relationship? And what happens if that business was to potentially come crashing down overnight, as businesses do? And then what? Then what's he got left? Another failed relationship. No family. And I say this all the time, like I always bring it back. What do you want from this one wild and precious life? What do you want from this? Do you just want success? Do you want money in the bank? Do you want Lamborghinis and a house in the Hamptons? If that's the truth for you, great, go get it, right? Be the entrepreneur, be all of that. But if you want to wake up in the morning with your best friend, if you want to build a life with someone, if you want to have deep connection, if you want to have partnership, if you want to have someone to grow old with and have a family with, you need to prioritize that, because businesses fail, business partners come and go. The stuff and the things gets old, but there's nothing quite like having a deep soulful connection with another person. Like that's where the orgasms are, as we say.
I can't remember who said this, but quite often through our lives, we will prioritize things that we think we're chasing them. Yeah, and Simon was questioning Steve quite a lot about, I suppose, the hedonistic treadmill that Steve was on, about always trying to achieve more. And if I get more business and I help more people, and he's so intertwined into, once I achieve this, I need to get to 1 million, I need to get to 2 million, get to 10 million, I need to do this and do this. And he's locked in this loop of this hedonistic, success loop that it just actually took. And this is the master, right? This is the master of people in this space. He didn't tell him, he didn't ridicule him, he didn't shame him, he didn't judge him. What Simon did was he asked him a question.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And it opened up the awareness on his side to think, oh, fuck.
That's
I
how
hope my
it's done.
girlfriend's not watching this.
A master perspective, like of a master coach, of someone in their absolute genius. It's not pointing the finger. It's not
Mm.
saying you're this and you're that, which is like in a relationship anyway. Ask the questions, don't point the finger.
Yeah. And so quite often, you'll see these, people in this space that they will chase it. But look, back to the quote I was saying before, is like, I don't know where I heard this, but you can have it all, but not all at once.
Mm. That's true.
And that's relatively true. There are sacrifices for chasing that. But like you said, it's come back to, why are you chasing this in the first place? And that's the real question, is that, why am I going after this? Because there is levels of success. Like my business coach, my guy, one of the first questions he asked me, Greg, is, what lifestyle do you want?
Yeah.
And we worked about, okay, what lifestyle do I want? Well, Greg, there's your cap. There's your
Yep.
max. Right?
Yep.
That's all you'll learn. That's all you will earn based on the
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are other ways around that, but from a one-on-one perspective, travel perspective, my capacity, my family. Look, I've got Monday nights netball, Wednesday nights netball, Thursday night swimming, Fridays running, and Saturdays little athletics, right? So you know that well, Jen. And I wouldn't take those experiences away for a gazillion dollars. And
Exactly.
my
Yeah.
kids get to see that. I get to be present with them. But how many times do you hear the executive, the CEO, the C-suite, the business person says, "I've got the regrets about not being there for the birthdays. I've got the regrets there for not seeing this stuff." I remember when I was playing school at footy, and this is a long time ago. I remember all the other dads coming down, but my dad was never there. I remember he turned it to one game, and was like so proud. But he worked hard, but he did with the best he could at the time as well too. So you understand there, but I think there comes a point where there's a choice. There's a choice these days we get to make about what we're chasing and what's important to us. And a lot of people don't realize is that, why am I doing this? I'm doing this to try and create this for my family. But if I'm not there, then why am I actually doing it? Which then comes back to the real reason why you're doing it is you're running away from something.
Exactly. You're not willing to face something. You're not willing to feel something. You're not willing to have a conversation. And we see it all the time. And then people wonder why, we have such a high divorce rate. We wonder why, there's so much resentment in relationships. There's so much disconnection, so much like, I've got a headache. I don't want to have sex tonight. There's such a lack of intimacy in these types of relationships. And then, I guess the good news is that, everything is figure outable, and you can move through this. And I think us being here now can give that permission slip to couples to be like, it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't mean that this is the wedge in your relationship that you can't come back on. But conversations need to be had, changes need to be made in order to move forward.
We have a really good psychic link. Because you said something there that was buzzing around my head a while ago about, well, how do I sort of entwine this into the conversation tonight? Perfect example. 70% of relationship therapy fails. It's really about, between 70 and 65%. So if you go see a therapist, you're in about 35% of being a success. The reason for that is most people go there not to solve their problem or solve their marriage. Most of them go there to be right. Most of them go there to actually say, look, my partner's done this, my partner's acted like this, they've been like this, then that enables me to behave like this. They're the problem, they're the cause of it. And people don't realize that's why most marriage counseling fails, is because the marriage counselor doesn't become a solution. The marriage counselor becomes a mediator of arguments, which go round and round and round in a circle for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it fails.
It costs you a lot of money. Like you've got literal like polarizing perspectives that you're just wanting validation for each person, and then the counselor in the middle is going, yes, yes, and that'll be
Yes.
$180 for the hour. Thank you. We'll
Yes,
see you
isn't he a
again next
prick?
week.
Isn't she a bitch? Isn't
Exactly.
oh, he's a narcissist. Great thing they throw around. Isn't he a narcissist? Usually narcissists attract narcissists, right? So
You know what I'm tempted to do? I'm tempted
go.
to go undercover to a relationship counselor to
Oh,
see
you should
what
do that. You
goes
and
on.
Cass. Yes, you should do that. You should do that.
We will do that. We would do that. We're
Go
going to find
undercover.
someone that doesn't listen to our podcast. We'll go undercover, and I don't know if I could, that's probably a bit dodgy if I record it, but we will go undercover and take notes because I'm super curious to see where, and I will get someone that's like, I will put the call out for, I'll do an anonymous post in a group somewhere that I know
Yeah,
of
that'd be
that
cool.
I'll go out of town. I won't go in my city. I'll go out of town somewhere. Yeah. Okay. Done.
There you
Stay
go.
tuned for that episode.
This is where it morphs into no script people. So, because quite often, actually, it's never happened, never ever happened, has someone, sat with me and said, hello, Greg, I'm James, and this is Sarah, or Sarah, I'm Sarah, this is James. Our relationship's in the shitter. We both know that we're at fault here. We both know that we're not acting correctly in the relationship. We're both fighting. There's constant stonewalling. There's arguments, defensiveness, criticism, contempt, the whole shooting match. There's no affection. It's just a complete nightmare. We're here to get your help. Whatever you want us to do, we will do. We're committed. We're here for a solution. We know there's problems. We know there's things from the past we haven't addressed, and we're here to get your advice. We're here to actually do whatever you say. Keep us accountable. Nobody says that.
No, and you would probably go into shock for the rest of the session. The fact that they
I'm in the
have like
twilight zone.
admitted that that's where they're at and they're prepared to do the work.
I think there was someone like maybe Jen and Cass had come in my office and kind of go, hey, we're going to test this guy out.
Yeah. Put the kettle on. We'll talk about the weather.
It doesn't happen, does it?
No, it really doesn't, because it's a generally from my perspective, I work with a lot of women. I do work with men, but I hear from a lot of women, he this, he that, he doesn't. There's a lot of projection, and I'm here to listen to it. I'm here to go, okay, yep.
Mm-hmm.
And where do you stand with all of that? And what part did you have to play in that? And what did you participate in with that?
Yes. Have you had a plate thrown at your head?
Women can get really triggered by, like, people can get really triggered by this, especially women. And I love working with men because they're very logical, as opposed to women that are very sort of like they're emotional. Men are just like, bang, this is how it is. Bang, get the work done. Bang, like they're just so coachable. It's a very different approach with them.
And this is where the expertise comes in, right? Because you have to understand that, women are coming from a place that's more emotional, more talky. I want to talk about it. Men are coming from a place where just show me the action, I'll go and do it. And again, you need to navigate that space rather, because you'll sit in front and a man will just sit there and talk about his feelings. A man's not going to talk about his feelings.
No.
So in that position, you need to be able to go, okay, well, how do we actually work around that? Give them some structure, give us some things to do, have some insight, give us some knowledge, give us some wisdom. Then that leads to them talking about their emotions. Whereas a woman just keeps there talking about emotions, but she won't do anything about it.
Yeah, there's no logic and there's no structure to it. She just wants to be heard, seen, and validated.
Yeah. So you've got the reason why a lot of things fail is because you're coming at a place where people don't want to be healed. They don't want to actually solve the relationship. They're coming to a therapist to actually get divorced for a lot of the times, because it's like if I went to my therapist said, look, Jen, you're the issue, not Cass, and you're a crazy woman, you're a stage 5 bunny boiler, run as fast as you can, Cass, right? Then I get that validated and I can say to all my mates, even the therapist said she was a bunny boiler. Like she's a stage 5 clinger. She's completely lost the plot.
She's completely fried. Yeah.
Correct. So, and that's unfortunate because people say they want to, like you and I are very, very good at reading the room. People say they want to solve the relationship, but their actions will say everything about it. And what they do about that really tells the intention. You can know within a week. Like you give them some things to do in a week. Are you going to do this? They don't do it. They're not into it. they might as well get divorced. I've said to a couple of people, it's like, guys, just cut it loose now. Like, it's a waste of your time and waste of money. My advice is, you guys hate each other.
Yeah.
Don't come here to actually prove to each other that you both hate each other. You're wasting your time. Get divorced now.
Yeah, exactly. Here, I've got the papers printed out ready to go for you. Like, let's get that in the express post today.
Yeah.
Or they'll do a fraction of what needs to be done. They'll move 10% away from where they were, but their driving force was getting away from what they don't want, not with the intention to move towards what they do want. So they'll get 10% away from the pain that they were in. 10% is just enough for them to go, oh, it doesn't sting as much. Oh, we're fine. Oh, we kissed. Oh, we
Look,
had
I'm
some
doing
sex.
something. Yeah.
Exactly. And where are they going to go? They're going to go that 10% backwards and be back same in that shithole that they started off in.
Correct. Yeah. So poor Steve Bartlett that's a very, very wise and aware person. And that's kind of the skill set you need to have in this position. Like he wasn't, what Simon was doing was listening to the words, but reading everything else. And that's where the skill set lies, because be able to sit there, and this is what we talk about intuition. And you'll go see a therapist, they'll have a pen and paper out, they'll have, list of things they're writing down, and they'll have all these sheets that they're articulating things in. Simon's using pure intuition at this space. He's purely in flow. He's listening, he's connecting, he's hearing what Steve is saying, but he's reading everything else behind the scenes there to be able to give that question, not to tell him to do anything. He's asked him a question, which was like, you can see it. Like, I'll send you the clip. You'll go, the whole thing went, oh my God, you can actually see in his body the impact it was when he said, if this was your business, what would you do? And it's like,
I love that. I love those moments as well. Like, I love those pivotal questions that someone asks or that we ask someone. And it's like a mic drop. And it can show you like the success of Steve Bartlett, a guy that is so high up in business and so successful, still has blind spots.
and
Is
deserves it, right? He
not a
deserves
fucking
to have
guru.
this. He deserves to have this relationship. He deserves to be a dad. Like, one of his greatest conquests. Like, Steve is a phenomenal podcaster, leader, business owner, entrepreneur. He'll be an even better father.
Mm.
And because of his upbringing and being poor and living off the streets and not having any money for anything, again, that drives his success. He's still living that world. And that's why, sometimes when we've talked before about people using their story to, push their success, but at some stage that story does become somewhat toxic to that success if you keep driving that story.
Yeah.
Because that's still, you're still pushing that little boy, still trying not to be poor, live back on the streets again, no matter how much money you've got. But in that space, they were talking about, like Steve said, I'm looking for freedom, but I don't need freedom. I've got more money to poke a stick at. Like, how more free can I be?
Mm.
Again, Simon's like, he's having the awareness around this pure question. He wasn't, like I said, it was questions.
Yeah.
The awareness to see behind the words and to have not a confrontational, but it's a real insight into human behavior and why things happen, and to pick up on what words are being said. So if you've got someone sitting in front of you with a pen and paper and a piece and writing stuff down, where are they?
They're in that. Yeah. They're right. Yeah. They're in their notes.
Yeah. You and I,
Yeah.
intuition, where are we?
Yeah. Right there with them. Right there
We're in the
with
experience.
We're inexperienced, but we're also a step ahead as well. We're
Correct.
also listening to what's not being said. We're also connecting to a feeling. Like, I had this experience with a client today. I could already, like, I could see his energy. I could feel his energy. I knew exactly what he was feeling. And as soon as I said, I can tell that, like, you're experiencing worthlessness, this, and this. He was like, how do you know that? I'm like, because I just know that. Like, I'm trained. Not only am I trained like this, but my intuition is one of my superpowers. You can do so much training. And I think this is the defining moments between, a good coach and an amazing coach. Is a good coach is well trained. They've got the pieces of paper, they've done the
Processes.
NLP, they've got, they've got the strategy. I don't use any of that shit. It's very occasional. Like, occasionally I'll do some of that if I have to pull something out where I'm like, this might help. But the majority of the time, I'm already connecting to their field well before we're on a call together. Because what happens is, and this is kind of going in that sort of woo-woo space, is that like if we want to talk about the soul or higher self, like when their higher self says, hey, I need some help, and they connect on the frequency that I'm on that says, hey, you've got what I need in order to help me, we've already made a contract with each other that that I'm going to take them on a journey to somewhere. You know, that is the contract that we have together. And by having that contract, we're already in each other's field. I already have that connection, the same as you and I. We're already like taking words out of each other's mouth, and we're already on the same page about things. It just happens because we've decided that that's how it is.
So for the listeners, this podcast has a shared note in our Apple phones, or Jen might have a Samsung or something like that. But we have
I've
a
got the
note
Apple. I've got the Apple. Yeah.
right, a shared note that has just a list of topics. We're going here before we start. What are we going to talk about? Let's do this. Let's go. No, nothing. Right?
There's nothing in
Just
between
freelance
these
the whole
weeks.
lot.
Yeah, we've never met in person. It hopefully will happen in June because I'll be
It'll
down in
happen.
Melbourne
Yeah.
in June. Yeah, we just get on and we're just like, let's go. And it was like it was in May, so it's almost a year ago that we had our first podcast together. You invited me onto your podcast for a chat, and then we jokingly said, well, that was amazing, we should have a show together.
And here we are.
Now we have a show together.
Look, intuition, like I'll put it into some of the stuff I'm doing now, is that looking at, and this is purely around leadership and corporate space and being a manager and a leader and that stuff. A lot of the data now, especially in your Gallup, your McKinsey stuff, your Harvard stuff, a lot of the studies being now done is if you're a manager or a leader in the corporate space these days, you have a finite time to learn about emotional intelligence, human behavior, and intuition. If you do not learn about this, you're going to be left behind in the next wave of leaders, because Gen Zers are coming, and Gen Zers don't want what we've had previously. So you've got a whole level of leaders in there who are going to be in a very, very uncompetitive space very, very soon, because you can learn emotional intelligence, you can learn human behavior, but the missing link to put it all together is the part is the intuition part, which if you see Simon's work here, Simon's pure intuition. I've never interviewed him, never spoken to him, but if I did get to speak to him and interview him, one of the first questions I'd ask him is, obviously you have a massive high intuition to be able to have the awareness you do, and he'd probably say yes. And I think a lot of his work's backed in by that. So in that space, you are facing uphill stream very soon if you don't embrace this part. And you have like HR companies come out, or consultants, they talk about emotional intelligence for leaders, and they talk about human behavior, and you have a workshop and they have some cheat sheets and you have a breakout room. The reality is 2 hours, 3 hours later, everyone's back to being normal, because understanding and learning this stuff is not a 3-week course. It's not a 4-week course. It's a lifelong pursuit of being, understanding human potential. Where I'm going with this, roundabout way, is that it's the same in relationships. The missing link and the part that has the most success in relationships and going forward is, and we talked about this you asked me this question last week about what's the most, apart values. If people have different values, can you actually have a good relationship? And I said, yes, you can, because it's based on self-awareness. If you in a relationship have self-awareness, you understand human psychology, and you have a huge amount of intuition and emotional intelligence, you'll have a relationship that nobody can touch. Mm. The next frontier of people who want to take their relationships to the next level is not learning techniques anymore. It's about connection.
Yeah,
and connection's not through the head.
Feeling. Yeah, exactly. It's about heart resonance with other people, and in your relationship, when you have that, like it's actually mind blowing. Like when I reflect on this, in my relationship with Cass, like what we have and this connection, which like we're very similar. We take the words out of each other's mouths. We're thinking the same thing, and it happens. He lives 4,500 kilometers away from me. We're on the other side of the country. That doesn't matter. You realize that time and space plays no part in this world. We'll be thinking the same thing. We hadn't spoken for a couple of hours. I think it was yesterday. And I sent him a photo. There was this incredible photo that we took. Went to Crystal Castle last week. And we stood like, there's this image of a portal there with like these 2 amethyst crystals either side. And we had a photo in front of him. It was so cute. We were kissing and stuff. And we didn't realize until afterwards these like incredible light beams that were coming through. There was like this orb above my head, and we got our individual aura photos done, and then we got like a combined aura photo done. It was cute as shit, right? And all that does is just remind our human selves of that soul connection that we do have. Because sometimes, like, we can even get lost in that at times. We can get weighed down by the human stuff. We can forget that
Yeah.
when we strip back all of the heaviness and the layers of stuff that we might be going through, we have this beautiful soul connection. And just because we live so far apart, like, the intuition is as strong as ever, because we work on it, we decide it to be. We have spiritual hygiene individually, we do the work on ourselves, we communicate openly. There's so many things involved in this, but it's not like, getting gas, getting, on the beers every weekend and going out and, like, being stupid with it, or ignoring each other, or, playing up on each other, anything like that. We're actively choosing in this relationship what we want to experience, because that's what lights us up.
And it's, the next frontier, or I mentioned it again, but the next level up in human behavior is this place of self-awareness and intuition. Because, too many, like, relationship coaches, again, we teach techniques. And when we teach techniques, we're in our head about is the process correct. So let's, for example, talk about listening, active listening. So people say, let's do some active listening. Okay, right. How do I have to listen? And you're in your head and you're thinking, well, I've got to do this and this and this and this. Well, okay, let's go back a step further. Most people don't listen. Most people listen to answer, which means you're not listening at all. You're just trying to
They're
you're just trying to get your
hearing, they're
words
not
in.
listening.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the first part is that listening is about not responding. Listening is about understanding and being curious. And curiosity comes from the heart, not from the head. Whereas most people listen to respond. So because they're giving their point of view, or they've got to defend their position, or someone's having whatever conversation. But if you had an argument with your partner, if you're having a disagreement, the first thing you need to understand, in stressed environments, you're in your fight or flight state. So you can't have a conversation because basic human biology says that your prefrontal cortex takes an Uber, nicks off down at the pub, and doesn't come back. So if you're having an argument in that space, you're going to say some horrible, really crappy shit, right? So, and then you're going to defend. You're going to have that space where it's going to be an argument about who's right, whose point of view is right, who hasn't done this, who hasn't done that, because it's coming from an emotional state. So the first part is then to negate that and just come back when you're a bit more calmer. And then the second part is that, okay, listening comes from the heart, doesn't come from the head. So you need to sit there and be curious about why that person's point of view is the way it is. And they may say some horrible stuff. Remember, it's perspective. It's not the truth. It's a point of view, which is then, if you understand human behavior, is that person's coming from a point of view, probably from trauma from a child at some stage, or trauma from
There's,
somewhere
yeah, there's some
that
pain in there.
there's some pain there, right? Maybe abandonment, maybe they feel of being wrong, maybe they've never been right, maybe they've got still parts of them that are unlovable, whatever it is, right? And your job is to be curious about it and to ask questions. So back to the Simon stuff. But we don't do that. So when you talk about active listening, it's not a process, it's a place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a place of presence and curiosity. And when you have that, there is no process. You don't have to follow a process, because coming from the heart space, which is, I'm really curious about why you're doing this. Help me understand this.
And it's really important to remember, in that place, you're going to want to defend yourself. You're going to want to jump in. You're going to want to go to war. Like, we ride at dawn when someone comes at us, right? But you've
I'm on
got
a
to
unicorn at
remember,
that stage. I'm coming in on my unicorn, the
just,
cowboy hat.
just shit and glitter on the way.
Yes, exactly right.
Either
There's a
that or a
visual for the
mechanical
people.
bull. Yeah. So, like, we want to defend ourselves because we feel like it's an attack. If someone's sharing parts of themselves that's real for them, that they're highlighting the way that they've felt, whether we've, like, legitimately actively played a part in hurting them with intention or not. Generally, it's not even with intention. Sometimes it could be, but sometimes it might not be. Sometimes they might be experiencing something that's come up from the past, something's been activated in the present, and it's heightened their emotion for them in that time. The best thing you can do for them is give them that airtime, because
Mm-hmm.
you would deserve that airtime. You would expect that airtime if you had something to say as well. Like, this goes both ways. It's
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging that you've heard them. It's allowing them to speak without you jumping back down their throat and defending yourself in that. It's welcoming all parts of them and letting them know they're safe. Because if they're already projecting with pain, they're not feeling safe. They're not grounded. They're not like, oh, rainbows and butterflies, that I've ridden my unicorn into this daisy
Correct.
field. they're on the
That
defense.
was
They're
me
like,
Saturday night,
this
though.
is,
That was me on Saturday night.
that like there is something heightened in there. And so the best thing that you can do is acknowledge them for that and have the maturity to shut the fuck up and like not go to war with them.
There'd be a bumper sticker somewhere. You can put in the back of your car, shut the fuck up. Like it should be a mantra
Have the
for
maturity to
relationship
shut
coach.
the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up. But you can
Yeah.
see people, like, I'll see them in the chair and you can see the body language just like, it's like, no, do not respond. Like, and then it's like, but I want to win. Like, that's the other thing is this need to win an argument or win a conversation. Like, I've got to win this. It's like, why?
So
Because there is no winning.
when you notice that within yourself, ask yourself, why do you feel like you need to win? Like that's the self-awareness. It's like, where did it come from that I had to fight to be right? Where did it come from that I always had to defend myself? Where did it come from that I had to be in battle to prove a point? Because guess what? The other person's sitting in exactly the same experience, and you're going to go head to head until something really nasty gets said, until the divorce papers come out, till a plate gets thrown across the room.
Huh?
It
Yeah.
escalates because what do we do? All it is stuck emotion. You need to dissolve that. You need to go, okay, we need to stop. We need to have a break. We need to walk away. Someone needs to go get in the ice bath and someone needs to go for a walk.
Yes.
Let's go shift this. Come back when you can talk about things from a place of, I hear you, I love you, I understand you, and I welcome you. If you're not there to have that conversation, off you fuck.
Yeah, and it's understanding. Like one of the missing links for people is understanding that what people are saying is not the truth. Like there is no real, actual truth. There's only a perspective of events. Everyone's having a different experience based on the way that they think about it. So if you can have that this is basic psychology. If you have the basic understanding that everyone's seeing something from a different point of view through a lens that's usually based in some kind of insecurity, then you can go, okay, well, how can I be curious about why they actually were upset about what I said there? Now, it doesn't mean anyone's right or wrong. It's like, okay, that person, let's say, I said something to Vanessa and she's triggered by it, and I get, okay, right. I said this, she reacted this way because it hurt her, but it hurt her not because what I said. It hurt her because it brought up something about she doesn't feel safe. And she doesn't feel safe because she may have been abandoned in the past or someone's treated her like thing. And then that will then create a belief or identity inside of her that then she has to compensate or avoid. So then she'll do a behavior or an action to not feel that again.
Mm-hmm.
So then she might shut down or attack or whatever, because the fact is that she's trying to avoid something that I've said where I've got a whole different perspective of it.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's triggered something inside of her, if I don't have the self-awareness around that, then this is why most relationships go backwards, is because if I had that self-awareness, I would go, right, Greg, next time you try and say something like that, you're a dickhead. You are number one dickhead on the planet because you know those words. Even though you don't mean those words the way that she's perceiving it, I have to understand that she's perceiving it this way.
Mm-hmm.
And when she perceives it that way, it triggers these behaviors because it triggers that core belief, which she then has to avoid or defend or try and move away from to protect herself from repeating that pain. Now, if I have that self-awareness and I go, Greg, don't say that shit again.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't.
No. And whose responsibility, if any, or both, is it to bring this forward and work through it?
Both.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
It has the courage to accept this behavior is not healthy. Let's have the conversation about the behavior showing something that's not healthy. And there's arguments and arguments, right? Some, like in the Gottman stuff I did, 70% of, issues and problems are perpetual, which means you can't solve them, right? Like in-laws, you can't solve that shit.
Unless they're at their funeral.
Yeah, correct. But it comes down to how you want to be able to argue, but, move through conflict in a way, because you're always going to have conflict in a relationship, always going to have it. And I can imagine what, Steve Butler's going through when his wife or his girlfriend watched that replay. It's like, oh God, he's going home to a shit show at that space about someone's just shut him up and in that space, like if I was sitting in that space, I would sit there and say to his girlfriend, understand why Stephen's doing this, because his whole identity is tied up in him being an entrepreneur. And that's the way that he finds meaning and success, but he's stuck in this thing because he's trying to avoid an experience which was him being homeless and stealing pizzas and stealing stuff to feed himself, right? And, multiple failed businesses as well too when he first started up. So you've got that over the top of him. So he's, psychologically, subconsciously is trying to not repeat that again. So he tries some more success, more success, more success. And in his mind, that keeps him safe and that keeps him, avoid from doing that. But then also on the top of it, it's like, okay, understand that. There's that part there. But one of the also thing is, well, what's his childhood been like with, relationship side of things? What's he seen from a relationship perspective with his parents, his friends and his family and stuff like that? And okay, well, he's desperate to be a father, but he's probably so scared of it.
Yes. And I would say if there's been homelessness, if there's been failed businesses, there's a level of worthlessness sitting underneath that fear of failure. And we all have that as parents. And you just don't know what happens behind closed doors. If his partner has got her own stuff around this, she could be projecting something that's been traumatic for her, where she's like, I don't know if I can be a mother. I don't know if I can trust you because you're amazing at business, but you're flaky. And we've done an episode on flaky partners. If he's flaky and like, oh yeah, maybe, and she's just like, put a baby in me. Yeah. And he's like, I'm sorry, darling, I'm just off to the office. I'll see you at 10 tonight for dinner, and then she's going, he doesn't love me. He doesn't value me. He just buys me everything and he buys my love. But if he puts a baby in me, am I just going to be left with the baby and the nanny? So she's probably got her own stuff that's happening behind closed doors that then he's going, oh, fuck this shit. I'm just going to go to work because I know that the processes that I have in place and my team will take care of everything. I'll deal with the relationship stuff another time when I get home.
And you make a good point there about assumptions. Like we are very, very quick to jump to assumptions. So we believe that, okay, this person's thinking this. Or have you had a conversation with them? No, but I know they're thinking this.
Yeah, of course they are. That's how they're presenting.
They are. Yeah. It's like, well, how do you know?
I know.
And it's quite common. It's like, I know what she's thinking, but have you asked her? Have you asked him? No. How do you know then? You haven't even asked the question. I just know. Like, fuck off.
Everything's an assumption. Everything in life is an assumption. And what do we get from assuming? It makes an ass of you and me.
Correct. Yeah. So if you want to have a successful relationship, it goes without saying that you have to have some idea about human behavior. If you don't, you are swinging in the wind. You are just doing this, put the finger in the air and going, geez, I hope it works. Yeah, is that the way the wind's going? Because you have no ability then to be able to deal with, like, even emotional regulation. Like, be able to control not control, but to influence your emotional regulation when you're having those times when you're getting heightened, and to be able to have a conversation. Like, it's basic one-on-one stuff. Again, guys and girls, men will go and learn this stuff in business. Right? They will go and invest $100,000 in an MBA to learn about leadership for business. You go and say, I want to spend $100,000 and teach you about the most important thing in your life about relationships. No, it's not worth it.
No.
But you've just dropped $100,000 on that in your business, but you won't then do the same thing in your relationships. So it just shows you where people's self-worth is, or worth is in this space. Because, yeah, when it comes to the point, and I think we've mentioned this before, when you're on your deathbed, great, your MBA is going to hug you.
Yeah, exactly.
Your influencers aren't going to give a shit. They're going to follow somebody else. You want the people around you who matter and who care. But if you've burnt that because you've been chasing something, and then you've had the chance, like, this is the thing, is that there is a great opportunity out here now in the world to change a paradigm, to do something quite profound and learn about intuition, learn about relationships, learn about tantra, learn about connection, learn about emotional intelligence. It's here.
Yeah,
and I think I put a post
everywhere now. Like it's becoming more of a thing now because we're realizing,
right?
We're realizing that there is actual magic in this. Like this is different. It's not just the stuff on a piece of paper. You know, it doesn't, that does not work anymore. Like Cass and I are running a Tantra, an introduction to Tantra workshop in a few weeks. And we are so excited because we get to teach people how to connect with self. Like the first principle of Tantra is know thyself.
Mm.
Do the inner work. I've written a whole program on know thyself. If anyone wants to come and work with me in my field, the first thing they have to do is do this program of know thyself. Otherwise,
Yeah.
no. Oh, no, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no, no. There's no,
Okay. Oh, the unicorn.
go have some Reiki.
Yeah. Go have some Reiki.
Go scream it out in a rage circle.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's funny. I was talking to a couple of mates of mine. We did did some acacia on the weekend with a little home brew I made up, and we were talking about the psychedelic community. And some people that are involved in there, and we're talking about you go to a toad ceremony and it's like, mate, this is the 8th time you're doing it and you're still talking about the same shit. Like you've got be very, very, very careful who you get advice from in this space, because there's going to be so many people out here teaching some of this stuff. I can teach emotional intelligence. Like there's a book here I've got. Oh, where is it? So
Of
Daniel
all your
Goleman.
1,000 books that you've got.
Right, they'll go and read something like this. For people listening, or you're not watching on YouTube, it's called Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. Great book, fantastic. They'll go and read that, and all of a sudden they'll be an expert in emotional intelligence.
Absolutely.
Or they will then say they're an expert in intuition, and it's like, well, but 2 weeks ago you were a clerk at a office building, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have all these people jump on the bandwagon because there's the next wave of things coming forward. But it's be very, very careful when you jump down this path of involving yourself with the right people, because like again we've got people in the psychedelic community, and I see some facilitators out there and going, dude, this person's been to see you 5 times, got the same issue. Stop serving them toad. Stop.
Yeah.
Ask
Yeah.
them the
You
question
have,
about why they're here for the 15th time with the same shit.
yes, yes, you have a duty of care to that person's soul to tell them to fuck off. There's our bumper sticker.
Do the work is one. Yeah, so it's you're going to be. It's a skill set that will put you in the top 1%. Like you learn this, and you can just chat GPT this stuff. Type in there
Yeah.
what emotional intelligence will do for your skill set going forward in life, and you'll come up with all these different stats. Go and Google stuff, right? We're not making this up, right? It is. I was listening to this. I can't remember who it was, but there's a guy of Shark Tank. He's a billionaire, and he said the biggest thing he learned, the biggest skill set he learned across everything else in business was connection,
Yes. Yep.
intuition.
Yep.
That was his biggest asset. He goes, that above everything is my biggest skill set. And he's a billionaire.
I used to have a mentor that said, if you want to make more money, throw more parties. And he would literally throw parties and bring people together for connection. And that's where deals were done. Like big deals were done at parties when people are having fun and people are connecting,
Correct.
That's how it's done these days. Like people want human connection in a world where we are I love ChatGPT. She is my assistant. I've named her Sophia. We have a great relationship. I love her, but there is nothing quite like connecting with someone in person. Like I've got my own podcast as well as you, and this one that we have. All of my upcoming interviews are literally on this couch here. All of I'm just like, give me more people to touch and grab and connect with in person. Because there's so much more power in that. There's power in connection. So as much as we can get so lost in this digital world, which we are so blessed in, it's not a fucking curse. It's here to support us if we use it in a supportive way. Social media is amazing for making connections, but if you're not meeting other people outside of that, then you're doing it wrong. But the whole idea is for, bring yourself into connection with other people, and then that's where the magic happens. That's where the deals are done. I have, the majority of my clients have met me somewhere along the way. They know my energy. They know my personality. They know how I am in a room because they've seen me, they've felt me, they've touched me, they've smelt me. They know my energy. It's very rare. I had a guy come to me one time, and it was after I went to a wedding last year. And he messaged me. He's like, "Oh, it took me a little while to reach out. I really loved having a chat with you at the wedding reception. Can I come and work with you?" And I coached him for ages. He was amazing. And he was like, "There was just something about you at that wedding that I just noticed. You were just so vibrant." I'm like, "I want to work with you." And I
Exactly.
get that a lot because it's about energy. Like, you can feel parts of, like, I can feel your energy through the screen. It's going to be very different when we meet in person. I'll be like, "Hey, it's you." One day we'll
Exactly.
get there.
So I think what we should do is really start to teach people about this stuff, is to start imparting knowledge. Is like, let's teach them about intuition. And then here's the thing, right? So people ask me, Greg, how do you learn intuition? It's like, you can't. I can't teach you it. There's no process. It's like, is there a meditation to do? Is there a something that gives me that whatever, some kind of process that gets me more intuition? I say, no, it's not, because your natural state as an infinite being is pure intuition. It's part of who you are. That you can't not have it. What's in the way of it is the way that you think about yourself, your insecurities, all that kind of stuff. The way to actually have intuition is to deal with your shit.
To know thyself.
Know thyself, right? And intuition then automatically comes out because it's there. Because you can think, right? When is my intuition not on? When I'm stressed, when I'm worried, when I'm distracted, all that kind of stuff. When's my intuition on? When I'm relaxed. So there's nothing you have to do apart
Well,
from
there is.
the
Sort
hardest thing
shit
you'll
out.
ever have to do is to deal with that. And because in that space, because what intuition does in a space of relationships, it tells the truth. It doesn't pull any punches. It sits there and go, Greg, you're being an ass. You're being a absolute fuckwit. You need to deal with this a lot better. And that's your soul coming through you.
No, that's Vanessa in your ear over the
That's this in my
intercom.
ear.
After she's
Yes,
clobbered you once, she's trying to bring you back again after she threw a plate at your head. "Greg, you're a
again.
fuckwit."
Yeah, exactly. And that's the hardest thing to do because, again, we talked about before is about the need to be right about our own point of view. Is the intuition kind of says, no, let's have a different conversation about, is this actually even a problem? Because a lot of the things we bring to a relationship and you try and fix problems are based in a perspective that's an illusion. And once you realize that the perspective is actually not really true, then the problem disappears. So where a lot of therapists and counselors and all that kind of coaches go wrong, and especially spiritual people, let's go into that wounding area, is that they believe the story. They believe the pretending kind of stuff. And once you realize that, your story or point of view is based in the nature of thought, and the nature of thought is based in some kind of belief or identity, and the identity and the ego is not real. Then you kind of go, okay, well, is what I'm actually thinking about naturally correct? Is it actually true? When it's not true, then that tends to go away, and then you have a
Mm.
different perspective on it. So we're so there's a word that comes up a lot these days. It's called cognitive dissonance, which is where we're challenged with of our own beliefs. Where someone comes presents us with a different idea, and we go, no, it's not that. The world is flat, no matter all the data that says it's not, kind of stuff.
Yeah, we choose to look away from what we know to be true, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think if we start really teaching people about the nature of intuition and, the tantric stuff and really go deep into that stuff, like there's so much skill set there for people that not only, improves your own personal life, it helps you be a better human being.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It's so true. And the thing is, like, it's knowing the difference. So I always say, Greg, that the ego is the voice of the subconscious. Now, I do a lot of work with subconscious being a therapist. That's been my jam for many years. And what I try to explain to people is, because the ego gets a bad rap. But the ego is just a voice of the programming. It's a voice of the beliefs. It's a voice of the conditioning. So whatever's gone into your subconscious and programmed your entire existence from the date of conception
Yeah.
is the voice that you can hear is the projection of that, right? Your intuition is the whisper from your higher self, soul, whatever you want to call it, spirit. It's coming from a place that's not in your mind, that has been created. So it's learning how to define the difference between the two of them. It's also like, I'm a dreamer, right? So I have
Mhm.
dreams where my intuition comes into play. And I had a really interesting dream last week. and I'll share it with you. I dreamt that I was driving along and my car started breaking down. It was right on school pickup time, and I had to pull over into some crazy school pickup area. There was kids everywhere. This is the weird part because it's a dream. I opened my bonnet and there was like another few flaps I had to get open. But I pulled the thing out and there was no oil in my car. And I was like, fuck, I can't drive my car without oil, right? So I woke up the next morning. Luckily, I remembered my dream and I was like, I should probably check the oil in my car. Now, I will hand up, I'm way too pretty to open the bonnet and look under it. That's not a Jen job, right? That's not a Jen thing. That's a casting when he's here. It's a boy's job. And it hadn't been done. So I was like, let's do that dipsticky thing. I'm messaging a friend because it was still early in the morning and Cass wasn't awake yet. So I'm messaging another friend that I asked all the boy questions to. I had no oil in my car, right? Had I driven it that day, it would have shit itself. I would have blown up the fucking engine. Cass was like, can you not? Again, way too pretty to look under the bonnet. So anyway, I put oil in. I had oil, right? And then I fixed it and I was like, oh my God, I'm so grateful for my intuition. Like something came through to me in a dream. I've had dreams before, like where my sister came home early from overseas. The next day she turns up. Stuff that like that can't happen things happens to me, and it has always happened to me, and that's a superpower and I love it, right? And I can't adjust that. I got no control over that. I can work with it and I can do things that heighten it, but it's a very natural part of me. But I definitely cultivate it by working with it, understanding it, and being very fucking grateful for it.
Cultivate is the word. And again, it's
Yeah.
this the thing is people try and analyze it, trying to IQ it. They try and how can I improve it? How can I do it to get a competition? How do I actually do this to have the edge over somebody else? How do I do this to I can read people and manipulate them, influence them? And it's like, intuition is pure heart space. There's
Yeah.
no head involved. Well, there may be a little bit of head, but it's pure heart connection and heart resonance. And when you're in that space, it comes from a place of doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's not about winning something. So when you're in an argument with somebody, your intuition will say, listen, and take this on the chin. You need to hear this. And you need to acknowledge this. And you need to get down on their level and understand where they're coming from and understand the pain that they're in and what you
Yeah.
did to hurt them.
Yeah,
And then
intuition is not about the lotto number. How many times as a psychic have you been asked for the lotto numbers, Greg? How many times?
if I'd be a rich man,
Yeah, you wouldn't have
Jen.
had to
I'd be a
play the
very rich
lotto
man.
if you had a dollar for every time, I can assume, right? Because isn't that
I
isn't that so funny?
literally, this is dead set. I've had two people who I read for who absolutely believed that they were going to win the lotto.
And have they yet?
And no,
No,
no.
not yet.
But the thing is that, you get stuck in this thing where a psychic tells you, oh, you got money coming to you. And it's like, oh, right, here we go again. Like it's, right, it's back on my unicorn. Here we go again. Magic dust. And like it's so many people who just want to avoid all the hard work and avoid all the stuff they need to do. Like people don't realize once they tap into the space how easy life becomes and how easy and flow it doesn't mean it's like move away from difficult stuff, because intuition is going to sit there and go, Greg, we're going to go down this path here. It's going to be the shittest experience you've ever had. You're going to hate this, but your intuition is going, you need to do this because that's part of the experience. It's part of being human, and through that experience you get to learn and evolve and grow and have different emotions in that space, because in the end the whole things are just a simulation anyway.
It's a whole
The whole
fucking
thing's
cosmic
not
show.
real.
Yeah, you go through the shit show to get a good story at the end of it. That's my theory.
Our psyche is so fragile. Like the thing is one moment you can be completely sane, next minute you're in psychosis. Like it purely shifts from a place of you believe something different. That's it.
You're
There's a
gone.
shift.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep.
it's to learn it is a skill set, but you can't learn it the way that you think you can learn it.
Mm. It's almost an unlearning. It's almost a deconditioning
Correct.
process of everything that you thought it was or everything that you believed it to be. It's stripping back those layers of conditioning, saying that it's this or that it's this, or you can do this with it, or whatever make believe story that you're telling yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And ideally it doesn't pull any punches. It's pure awareness. It's like in that space that you can see things that you normally wouldn't.
Mm. You can feel things. You have those moments where you're thinking of someone and then they message you or call you out of the blue or something like that. Or you'll think of a song and then you'll hear it on the radio 5 minutes later or something. You have these moments and then you're like, oh my God, cool, it's happening. And then when it starts to just become the natural part of your life, you know that you just live in that for me, that's a reminder of a sense of alignment that I'm in. And my intuition will pull me up because when I'm feeling funky, if I'm feeling off about something, there's something going knock, knock, knock. That's all anxiety is. It's a knock at your soul going, excuse me, hello, knock, 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 knock. There's something not in alignment here. Something needs to be sorted out here. That's all that is. All it's doing is you're creating a story of a future that does not yet exist, and we have labeled it anxiety.
Correct. And, people will kind of say, oh, but didn't you and, Jen go and learn your psychic abilities? Like, okay, right, let's deal with that one, right? Yes, I went to some classes. Yes, I went to psychic classes. Yes, I went to psychic circles. Yes, I went to meditation classes. Yes, I did all that stuff.
Mhm.
And you come out at the end of it, even though I did all that stuff, to realize that that's part of the path.
It's true, isn't it? You've got to go for the validation. You go to be like, I'm really good at this. I mean, you want
Yeah.
a TV show on this. I mean, I don't think you could get more validated than the Greg Riley from The One.
Well, and the thing is, like, oh, can you teach me how you did this? And it's like, well, I don't really know. There was no process to it. Like for me, like you said, it's this place you sort of appear in. There's no real. Do I do a meditation in the morning? Do I do a certain meditation at night? Is there a certain way I sit? Is there a visualization that I tend to do to get there? And when I first started off, I did all that. I remember one of the first books I got was Opening the Channel by Satya Rainan, I think it was, or something like that. Really, really good book. And I follow that religiously about certain process there to open up the channel. And like, it's great, but then you're still in the construct of following a process to get there. And I remember I've got a mate I speak to on Wednesday nights, Gabby, really cool bloke. And we're talking about this other day and we go, how about we just start playing with our higher self and start, doing some funky shit with it, because we're looking at there's a lot of heart resonance meditations out there these days, and we're just listening to a few of them and that, and going, okay, right, this is how this person's doing it, this is how this person's doing it, and we're going, well, the only real thing you need to do is listen to your higher self. It'll tell you what it wants to do. It'll show you the way it wants to connect. It's like learning a different language. You are learning another language that comes through your heart and resonates through you. There's no process to that. And so when people say, it's like, yes, I went and tried all the processes. That's what I did. Most people do that because that's how you sort of understand okay, this is how I start to learn it, open up to it. But when you get to the point of getting to where we are, the point is that you kind of go, you don't need to do that anymore. There's no way of, like, people say, oh, do you sit there and meditate for 2 hours a day? Like, I know people who are so sold on the neurology stuff. Joe Dispenza, right?
I was
4
going to say
a.m.
that, yeah.
Yep, they're up 2 hours. They're doing meditations and they're following a certain process. It's like, have fun with that, guys. Like, again, you're stuck in the process. Like, it's good to get that link up. It's good. It's like, I found that was good to create the link, right? That was good to go, okay, there's some confidence there to go, right, this is sort of putting the lights back on to a certain point. But then, exploring intuition is a very individual space you learn through yourself. And when I teach people, it's like, we'll explore that. You go there, you do it. I'm not, you listen to yourself. You go into your heart. You connect to your heart. That's all you need to do.
And so many people don't realize, one, how simple it really is, and two, what that even means. What do you mean going to my heart? Where am I
Because it's
going?
shut down.
I mean, it's beating, you know.
Mm.
And this is, I guess, this is where process does come into it. Like the meditations are great. Sometimes if you just want to remove yourself from your own like mind that's swirling and going a million miles, great. Put on a Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation. That's amazing. He's got some amazing work. I'm a huge fan of Dr. Joe. Does incredible things in this world. Teaches people how to connect with self. And I love that he's a neuroscientist. He's, backed by science. He does so many peer reviewed studies and data, and there's science behind heart resonance. I love that there's like this science that's meeting spirituality because it's not woo woo. It's not just like well, yeah, I went for this and I did this and I feel great because of that. It's like, no, no, we've got like literal scientific evidence here. Because as much as I love the woo, I love the science too. Like I froth over quantum science and quantum mechanics, till the
Qubits.
cows come home. Yeah. Yeah, I love that shit much as I love, playing in the space of energy, playing in the space of psychic development. And, I wouldn't say I was super there with mediumship and like message. I have done mediumship readings before and readings for other people. It's not really a place that I play in. It's not really a place I want to play in either. I've got friends that are amazing psychic mediums and they hear things all the time. I'd be like, there's enough going on in my own head to not have other
Yeah.
people come in.
Yeah.
I don't
Exactly.
if I go to a cemetery, oh my God, I can hear and feel and
Feel
all of
lit.
the things. I'm just like, la 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 la, let's get through here. Like all of the stuff comes at me, but I don't welcome that. That's just not the place I want to play in.
So I think teaching people about this is really really important because again it's a refined art. Like to get to where we are is it takes dedication, it takes awareness, it takes dealing with your own shit. It is a you can't do a Doreen Virtue 3-day workshop as used to happen with Hay House. And all of a sudden you're tapped into your intuition 3 days later. It doesn't work like
Sorry.
that. Like the same thing with the corporate space. If you think you're going to learn about leadership and emotional intelligence in a 1-day workshop, you're fucking kidding yourself. This is
Mhm.
why most leaders fail. I was speaking this the other day with somebody about there's most people in leadership roles inside the corporate place where they call themselves people leaders are just outcome managers. All they do is manage outcomes. They're not people leaders because they don't understand human psychology. If you don't understand human psychology, you're not a people leader.
No.
And if you're in a relationship without understanding anything about human psychology, you're winging it at best.
And you're failing at it most likely.
Yeah,
You're
correct.
winging it, but not really getting, like, you might be getting places if you've got good people skills and good listening skills, you
Yeah,
know. But if you're really not, and I think it really takes both people to do their own individual work, one on themselves and two together. If you've been
correct.
in a relationship for 10 years and you're listening, and it's like, oh, we've never done this before. Where do we even start with this? Start together. Start opening up that dialogue and having that conversation. What we were saying earlier about having, conflict and listening. When you're out of that heightened state, that's when you have the conversation. What did you need from me in that time? What is it that I can do to best support you? Do you want me to just hold space for you and listen? And then do you need space or do you need me to hold you? What do you need from me in those times? Don't
Mm.
ask while you're in it. Don't ask while you're like activated and going at each other. Ask
Here's my
when the
attachment
dust has
style.
settled.
My love language. My love language is this. Like you must, it's like my love language is affection, and like my attachment style is like it. We're so
I'm
processed and
avoidant, so I'm
over.
going to go this way.
Look, we get it. Everyone's a little bit of everything. Like this is the thing. There's so much information out there. It's so processed from it. It's so headspace. Like, all right, let me think about what attachment style I am, so I can think my way through this relationship. It's no, it's a heart space. So
Always.
we will go deeper into this. So,
We
Jen,
will.
an hour and 6 minutes in. Where can they find us?
Instagram, always, Intuition and Orgasms podcast. Leave us comments, message us, leave us love notes. We love it all. And we'll see you
Leave
guys
us
in a fortnight.
unicorns,
Yeah,
unicorn
unicorns
emojis.
in
That's what he
daisy
wants.
fields. But just get out there, have
Thanks,
some fun
Jen.
with your intuition.
Yes. Until next time, we'll see you again.
Thanks, Greg.